590 AM, 100.9 FM, Classic 101, WCAB, Rutherford.
Is the International Morse Code Signal. That marks the beginning of my program. It's Gilbert Talks Taxes, and I am back on the air. Why? Because as we all know, taxation with representation has not been such a good idea either. Good morning, everybody. It is September 9th, and I am back on the air for another season of Gilbert Talks Taxes. This, by the way, will mark my 10th year. Actually, January will be my 10th year of doing Gilbert Talks Taxes right here on WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9. And my engineer this morning, Tommy, the ever cheerful, the ever joyful. You haven't changed in the last 4 months, I see. Yeah, good old Uncle Tom. Got you right here with me, drinking some coffee. And those of you live streaming, Tom's got you up. Now, these new monitors you got, things have changed since I left. You got big old monitors that were made like this decade.
You ready for
You've got
close-up, Mr. Jamil?
my close-up.
Yeah.
Actually, those of you live streaming, www.wcab59.com. Good morning. I look crowded in here, but I've got another monitor over there. I'll find a happy space in between these two. I will. So good morning, everyone. The program is Gilbert Talks Taxes. Why can I talk about taxes? Because I am an enrolled agent. An enrolled agent is a person admitted to practice before the Internal Revenue Service. My license comes from them. My power and authority come from them. But I represent you, the taxpayer. I prepare tax returns. I do tax issue resolution. I solve problems. And I do financial planning. One of the things that makes me unique in financial planning is I understand the tax implication of financial planning. So many times we see clients that come in with a big old tax problem because of their investments, and nobody really thought the thing through. And it's an ever-changing market out there, and it's ever-changing laws, and things are moving pretty quickly, so our job is to stay on top of it. One of the things, by the way, Tom, that we did while I was away is we went to the IRS forum. Last week, we were in Orlando, Florida. So I was there. Christy, Emily, who's not with me this morning, but she will be with me next Saturday. I've already committed her to that. I committed her to that. Yeah, she'll be here. She'll be here. She's a morning person, too, so it works out. Emily, Stephania, Christy, myself were at the IRS forum in Orlando. And what's important about that forum is that with the pandemic, they stopped doing it in person. So it's every year the IRS meets in 5 cities, and they have a forum. All the top auditors come. They do education. They actually have taxpayer advocate services there, and you can bring cases you're having problems with as a practitioner, as an enrolled agent, which I am. I can bring a case and actually go one-on-one with an auditor in real time and resolve the case. Now, it's got to be a case that's already been working. It's got a case that's, pretty much just dead-ended. It's going nowhere. We can't seem to find a resolution. A lot of times, it's things that are just caught in the paperwork nightmare. We call it the death spiral, the paperwork death spiral. You've sent 4 copies in already, and you call the 5th time, and they say, well, I can't find it anywhere in the system. It's typically cases like that. Rarely is it a case that you're really stuck on some point of law or something exciting like that. Usually it's look for that paper, you'll find it somewhere. And they found it when you hear on the other end of the phone, they go, oh, that. Oh, you're calling me about that. Yeah, that paper. Yeah. So you can bring a case and actually, talk. Now, in 2018, which was the last time I went in 2018. I was going to go in 2020, and then that thing called COVID happened, and they stopped having them in person. So for 3 years, they did it, 2021 and 22, they did them Zoom and internet, and that was a disaster. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to do that. And why do I know it was a disaster? Because they did it in person this year. They went right back to it. And it's an incredible effort that it takes. I mean, it's a convention. It's a full-blown convention. Though, so 2023 was their first year back. The one we did in 18 was in Washington, D.C., or we went to the one in Washington, D.C., and we had a great time. We met a lot of interesting people, met a lot of auditors that to this day I still reference notes from their meetings, and I learned a lot. It was a huge, huge convention. It was a big success, and I was always looking forward to going back. Well, this year we went back, went to Orlando, and a little thing called hurricane happened. Yeah, it was, yeah, oh yeah. But you know, you're in Florida. You want to talk about people that are like, yeah, exactly. It's it's like being in Chicago during a snowstorm.
They got a bullseye on that state.
Well, and everything, we stayed at a hotel, the Convention Center Hotel was just up the street from Disney, and it was built, you know, post-Katrina, so the walls were like solid concrete. I mean, everything. We didn't even know that it was raining outside. We were inside, you know, air-conditioned comfort, and everybody's talking about the hurricane, and I'm like, okay, I'm looking out the window, and all you see is rain. And nobody, like, nothing stopped. Like, it was like nobody evacuated, nobody did anything. Now, north of us, it was a little bit different. About 100 miles north, it was a little more intense, but still, it was like, so Wednesday, the hurricane kind of blew through there, a lot of rain. The humidity was 100%, and the temperature was 100 degrees. So, yeah, so it was like a bath outside. You didn't even want to go out there. And we just stayed there the whole time, but we had an absolute great time. Met some interesting people. But I was going to say in 2018, I had a case that I took to taxpayer advocate and got that case resolved right then and there. So it was a big deal. The meeting was about 2 hours long, but it was a simpler case than the one I took this time. The one I took this time was a little harder. It had some more moving parts. We weren't able to get it resolved there, but it was given to a tax analyst, which is a big deal. So my paperwork is now sitting in front of a person who I have their name and telephone number, like their direct line, and they are an analyst. So it was really a big deal, and I'm confident we're going to get it resolved. Like I said, it's just in the paperwork death spiral. The tax issue's clear. There's just some paperwork that was missing, and because of it, you know, they say this taxpayer owes $14,000. He doesn't owe it. It's a business, by the way. So $14,000, I know it sounds like a lot of money, but it's a business. It's really not that much money for the amount of money involved. And it's just this technicality, but this technicality's been going on. It started before COVID, and then, of course, it sat for 3 years, and now they're picking it up, and it's worked its way through. So it was really good. But the thing that happened at the IRS forum is, those of you that have heard me talk about Erin Collins, which is, she's the head of Taxpayer Advocate, she was actually there, and she spoke. And you know where I've said, somebody at the IRS listens to this program, because I'll talk about something in the news, and then I'll say something, and then all of a sudden I'll say, they should do this, and then a week later, okay, there is somebody at the IRS that listens to Gilbert Talks Taxes. They've got a social media guy, and he's like, I think I've heard of you. And I said, no way you've heard of me. I am in Rutherford County, North Carolina, on an AM/FM doing this program. He goes, no, you talk about taxes. Oh, well, yeah, the program's Gilbert Talks Taxes. So we talked a little bit, and then he did go and listen to the podcast at gilberttalkstaxes.com. So, yeah, and he's her assistant. So I got a picture taken with me and Erin. And the thing about Taxpayer Advocate, so it's this lady, she's got the job, and over the years, it's been different people. Congress appoints this person to be the taxpayer advocate. And this is really important for those of you that care what happens with our government, and those of you that care about the IRS. And, you know, we always think of tax reform as, well, I want to pay less taxes, or I want to get a bigger refund. But there's more to it than that. There's the actual administration of the law. The way, and this is the boring stuff, you know, that I talk about, and people start falling asleep while I'm talking about it. But Congress says, we want this. So if you got a problem with the tax code, you remember Trump said it when he was debating Hillary Clinton. You got a problem with the tax code, Hillary, change it. Because she said, you don't pay any taxes. And he looked at her and said, you don't either. Why? Because we use the tax code. The tax code. And he said at that debate, and you know, in all the Trump hating, people need to go back and listen to these things. That the things he said were gold. And you go back and listen to it, because everything he said was true. He said, you're not going to change the tax code, Hillary, because you and your rich friends use the tax code just like I do to our advantage, because we pay people to figure it out. Well, hey, that's what I do. You know, I say my job is to have you not pay taxes legally. That's not tax evasion. That's not tax fraud. That's not illegal. That's why the tax code is there for you. So Congress wants something. They pass these laws, and then the IRS's job is to interpret these laws and come up with the rules. That's called IRC, Internal Revenue Code. So you'll hear IRC this, IRC that mentioned. And then they go out and they collect the money. They're basically a collection agency. That's basically their job. One division interprets the code, and then the other division takes that code and does what Congress wants. We saw it during the pandemic with PPP. You remember payroll protection money. You remember all the money. If you're an employer, you can get this money for staying open during COVID. And there was all these things. Is it taxable? Is it not taxable? We don't know. And we waited for the IRS to tell us. And I kind of made a lot of decisions for my clients moving through it, because I kind of think I understand how the IRS thinks, and I just happen to be right about all of it. But, you know, there's times I've been wrong, so I'm not going to gloat about that. I was right how they were going to administer it. And then there was a whole question about, was North Carolina going to tax it? Because North Carolina never met a tax they didn't like, and they were going to tax it. And I said, they're not going to tax it. There's going to be too much pressure, and there's going to be too much pressure from the federal government for them not to tax it. Some states did, and immediately flipped on it, you know, and said no, because there was going to come pressure from the federal government. I knew it. So then that's what happened. North Carolina then said, no, we're not going to do it. Okay, so that's how it works. They interpret the law, but that's what they do. So a lot of it's policy. So the taxpayer advocate, what makes her job, and it's just been a lady ever since I can remember. That's why I keep saying her. The job of the taxpayer advocate is to look at the IRS, how they're working. It's an agency within an agency that is autonomous. They're self-controlling. They don't answer to anybody in the IRS, which technically makes the taxpayer advocate, the second or third most powerful person in the Department of Revenue. Okay, so that's just my take on it. And then she looks at the IRS, she sees what they're doing and how what could be better, what's good, what's bad, and what could be better, and how to fix what's bad. That's her job, and she writes this letter every year. And if you're interested in this at all, you can go to Taxpayer Advocate Service. It's actually taxpayeradvocate.irs.gov, okay, .gov, and there's just a ton of information in there. Even if you're having problems with the IRS, if you're having issues you don't understand, letters you don't understand, there's all kinds of really interesting information in there. But you'll see a tab there called Our Reports to Congress. So she writes a report to Congress every year. But what makes this report important is that it's in the law that Congress has to respond to this letter within 90 days. And it has to be an intelligent response. I mean, it can't just be, oh yeah, okay, thanks. Thanks for the letter, we'll get back to you. No, they have to actually address the issues in the letter. And there have been, that I'm aware of, and there may be a lot more. I'm going to get all kinds of phone calls from CPAs and tax attorneys correcting me and other EAs. But as far as I know, there have been 10 substantial laws, you know, IRS laws, tax laws passed based on suggestions from the taxpayer advocate. So it's a big deal. And they advocate for you, the taxpayer. And this lady really is about you, the taxpayer. I mean, we met her in person. I had my picture taken with her. We went to her keynote speech that she made and got to talk to her privately, not once, not twice, but 3 times, Tom. We got to talk to her. So what happened is I met one of her assistants, and that's when I met the assistant that looked up my website and everything. And then I said, well, Erin, she's our kind of girl. She's tough. She comes out of private practice, and I like everything she says to the IRS, and she talks to them. She's fearless. She is, like I've said it on my program, she's our kind of girl. And the lady goes, would you like to meet her? And I said, well, yeah, I know. I heard she's going to be here. That'd be great. No, she's right here. And she was literally standing right behind me, right when I was talking the whole time. And I'm going to post this picture on my website, but I should have had it up to show you. So I had my picture taken with her, but we got to talk to her, and she's really a neat person. So I can't say enough about her. That's the picture I took with her. Yeah, that's Erin. Yeah, she's a little fireball redhead. Oh yeah, and she's serious about it. But the thing about her is that she's worked both sides of the fence. So those of you business people out there listening to me, you actually have an advocate that has been in private practice. Like, it's hard when you're talking to people in a bureaucracy that have never worked outside of the bureaucracy. It's just tough because that's all they know. Yeah. And I've said on the air before that the government considers a small business any business that makes less than $14 million a year. Well, I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, $14 million a year, that's a giant business. That's not a small business. But because they're in that bureaucratic mindset, where did that number come from? Well, somebody decided that was a small business. So all their policy is geared to things, and it's done by people that have never been outside of the bubble. Rush Limbaugh used to call it beltway thinking. They've never been outside of the beltway, meaning the beltway in Washington, D.C. That's their life. And they don't understand our world. They have no idea what it's like to get up at 6:30 in the morning to go to a construction site and run a job. They're clueless. And as a matter of fact, if you talk to them about it, you get this glassy over look in their eyes. And I've been there. I've talked to these auditors, and they say things that are just ridiculous. And you're like, but that's not how the real world works for small businessmen. Yeah. And they looked at me like, Anyway, so the thing about her is she worked for KPMG. She was in private practice. She knows what it's like. She had actually retired, and they offered her the job. So she's there for you. I've used Taxpayer Advocate to resolve several issues with clients in the past. I don't have any cases. Well, I've got one case with them right now, but I'm sure that's going to be resolved quickly, or I'm hoping it's going to be resolved quickly. They're a great resource. If you're having IRS problems, if you're having issues, you're getting letters, you owe money, please, I've run this commercial on this radio station for years, please don't call those 800 numbers. Call me. I'm local. I'm here. I can do it. I'll look at your case. I'll at least tell you what you got, what your problem is. And I can do that very, very inexpensively. A lot of times I just do an initial consultation with you and talk about what the problem is. Usually, in the first 20 minutes, I know what your case is and what's going on. And I can give you a realistic feel for what you got going on. My telephone number is 828-289-9300. See, Tom, I was so excited to come back. I just went right into talking about it. I know, I missed you. I miss doing this, believe it or not. I miss getting up at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning to come on the radio. Now we don't have any commercials loaded because I guess the owners couldn't find my commercials. I don't know, Tom. We'll get it figured out. Do you have a PSA or anything? Like, is there an emergency? Like, if I needed to get up right now and get some water, what would you do? You want to go to it? You got a PSA? Let's.
Hang on a second.
This is live radio, folks. Yeah. You're living live radio. Here at Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. I just had to throw that in there. Yeah. We don't have any commercials. We don't have anything. So let me give my information out because I went right into it. I just assumed everybody knows who I am. My name is Gilbert Carmona. The business is Carmona Financial Consultants. We have 2 offices, one at 704 Oak Street, Forest City, North Carolina. I just gave my phone number. Let me give it again, 828-289-9300. My other office is at 226 South Trade Street in Tryon, North Carolina, the beautiful Art Deco building right off the historic downtown Tryon.
I got a couple of PSAs I can find.
You got one? Because I may need a break here to get a little drink of water here in a second. Because, it's good. We are working on our lineup, our stellar lineup of advertisers and sponsors.
There you go.
Well, I wanted to get back on the air specifically because, so I got taxpayer advocate out of the way. I said nothing but good about her, I hope, right? That's all I said about her. Did I mention how intelligent she was? See, there's somebody at the IRS listening to this now. Like, I know there is. And this guy's job is to listen to stuff like this. So I mentioned how intelligent she is, and I mentioned, great, and I can't say enough good things about her. Okay, so we're 20 minutes into the program. He's probably done listening. Okay, so we can get on to other things. By the way, that's all of us there. I'm going to put that on the website.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a good picture of us, huh? Those of you live streaming, you can't see that. It's too small. Actually, Emily, there's got to be a way when we put this on our website that we can put those 2 pictures up. But we had a good time, and everything was very serious networking.
Oh, yeah,
you could very, very serious. Yeah, all the way. There was no. It was solid networking, meeting with people, and it was really a good time. All the top vendors were there. Software vendors, and it's just great to have all that talent. There was a lot of energy. People were very excited to be back in person. You could feel it. I mean, people were like complete strangers. We were all just talking to each other, and it was like we hadn't seen each other in 3 years is a long time, but it was like I didn't even know these people, and they're like, and because everybody's got their name tags, so they're like, Bob, Tom, hey, Gilbert, hey, and they were shaking hands, and I think everybody was really glad. There were, I don't know the official count, but something like 7,000 people, and that was just the one in Orlando. The one in San Diego got sold out 2 or 3 weeks before the convention, and I was talking to one of the IRS people that was involved in the convention, setting it up and all that, and they said that it was their fault. They didn't realize how big the demand was going to be. They booked a way too small a venue in San Diego, and the one in Orlando just happened to be had a bigger space available. So they threw it in. They took that big space, and they said, "We're glad we did, or this would have been sold out." And they were in other cities. So next year, people are already signing up for next year. So it's a big deal. But yeah, the hurricane. It was actually right when it came north of us, it was a tropical storm. Dumped a ton of water on us. Tom, let's go ahead and let's take a PSA. I'm going to get a glass of water. I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk about a deadline. There are actually three, but 2 that are very important deadlines, which is why I'm back on the air today. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
Hi, I'm Vivica Fox. For more than 100 years, American Humane has been helping our best friends in their worst times, during hurricanes, tornadoes, and increasingly, wildfires. They're real heroes to these animals. But Mother Nature isn't the only danger that animals face. Sometimes it's human nature that's the greatest threat. Each year, more than 6 million beautiful adoptable animals are being abandoned, and more than 1 million are euthanized before they can be rescued. These animals need heroes too. Heroes to open up their hearts and homes and to give them the love they deserve. Be a hero to an animal in need. Consider becoming an American Humane Rescue volunteer or adopt from your local shelter. Visit AmericanHumane.org to find out how you can be a hero and help our best friends in their worst times.
Every morning I open the door. Hello, stock. Hello, store. Building my business, building my dream. I'm glad to have radio on my team. It reaches my customers and new ones too, and tells them about what we offer and do. I'm watching my budget. I have to spend smart. For me, radio is a good place to start. Radio works harder. Put it to work for you at radioheardhere.com.
Brought to you by this radio station to remind you that radio is heard here. Radio is heard everywhere.
Where our listeners patronize our advertisers. Call our sales department today at 287-3356.
We are back. Dover Talks Taxes, among other things. WCAB AM 590 FM 100.9 on this beautiful, beautiful. Now the sun is out. I put on my high water pants just because I heard you talking on the radio this morning that we were going to have a monsoon. Where's the monsoon?
Hey, don't ask. Be careful what you ask for.
Yeah, I know. Be grateful. It was a nice little rain this morning. It was nice waking up to that thunder. It was a good morning. Yeah, cup of coffee and a little toast, watching that storm come through. It was great. But we needed the rain. We really needed the rain. I was glad to see it. But it's clearing up out there now. It looks pretty good. We're supposed to have more rain, though, today, tomorrow.
Yeah, today, tomorrow, into Monday.
Into Monday. Okay, well, that's not bad. That's not bad. A couple of days of it. We need it. And it's been hot. When's the cool weather coming in? That's what everybody's been asking. November, yeah. I was afraid you were going to say that. Okay, so now, oh, wait, I'm going to forget this if I don't talk about this now. Did you say earlier, because I was listening to you earlier this morning, I was listening to your call around. I always love your call around. Did you say that today was Jimmy the Greek's birthday?
Yeah.
How old is that guy? Is he even alive? I mean, that guy was handicapping sports events and boxing matches and stuff when I was a child. In the 60s, yeah, when I was a child.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you were just referencing, that date.
Yeah.
I thought he was like you knew him and you're calling him out. Jimmy the Greek's birthday. He owes you money. I think he owes a lot of people money. And that may be why nobody's seen him for a while. He was. People probably don't even know who we're talking about. No, our audience is a little older. They'd know who we're talking about. Oh yeah, he was the man in the day. He handicapped all the fights, all the famous fights. No, I think that guy's. Oh no, yeah, he died. Oh, it was a long time ago. Yeah, 1996. Yeah.
3 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Yeah, no, if he was still alive, he'd be 105. Yeah, that's why when you said that this morning, it stopped me. I thought, what? Wait a minute, Jimmy the Greek, and he was good. He was one of the top ones. His accuracy rate was over the top. I think that's what made him famous. Because that's a game where people are watching your numbers. That is, you got to know what you're talking about there. Okay, well, I wanted to ask about that because I was I was pondering that as you were saying it. Yeah, and then then you had me at Elvis was on. Am I that old? I remember that.
1956. I do too.
No, 1956. No, then I didn't. That was the first time he was on there. Then I didn't see him the first time.
Yeah.
No, that was. But I remember seeing him on there. So he was on there after that.
Yeah.
Like in the 60s.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, that's more like it. That's more me. That's more my age.
That was the first time.
1956.
Yeah.
And I remember Ed Sullivan. Young people, they'll hear people us talking about things like this in the historical context, because it is the historical context. That's the only media we had. That's it. There was no. They asked me, what did you do when you were a child? You didn't have internet. We climbed trees. We rode bicycles.
Yeah, exactly. Hung out with friends.
We walked on fences. That was networking. We went around. Well, yeah, our bicycles, you knew where everybody was. You looked for all the bikes.
Yeah.
We played sports. We went outside. Yeah, we did that.
Till the street lights came on, and they came home for supper.
Our parents would send us outside.
Yeah.
Go outside, go run around. I lived in a suburb of Chicago. That's the last place I'd let somebody go outside today.
Yeah. Okay, well,
lock the doors. Yeah, go outside, go play for a while. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And come back 8 hours later or whatever, and nobody knew where you were.
Yeah.
We didn't have geotags on our phones. I mean, we didn't have phones.
Didn't have phones.
We didn't have anything. Yeah, oh, we sound like a couple old grumpy grandpas. That's what we should call it. Gilbert's grumpy grandpa. Okay, Gilbert the grumpy grandpa. Okay, it's 8:30. Let's talk about deadlines that are coming up. Deadlines. So next Friday, that's it, folks. You got 6 days. The 15th of September. If you're a partnership, you file an 1165 tax return, you're a partnership, your tax return is due next Friday. And I don't know why, but this year it has really come up fast. We've had people calling us that their other tax preparers haven't even started doing their tax return. We got several of these phone calls. And right before we went out of town and as we got back, there are people had a call yesterday. The call was the guy said it's due next Friday, and he wants to have a meeting with me. And the guy's like confirming this with me. Yeah, it's due Friday. It's like, that's fast. Well, yeah, 6 months from March. So if you have a partnership or you have an 1120S, that is, you are a business and you file an S Corp election, those tax returns are due Friday, the 15th. You have till midnight, Friday the 15th. Now, all of our people are on track. We've got a couple to wrap up still. So we're there, but we're on track with those. That is September 15th, next Friday. Then October 15th, the individuals, all you people that filed extensions, October 15th is it. That is the last day to do your tax return. Now, and then there is a third deadline, November 15th, for not-for-profits. So if you're a not-for-profit and you filed an extension in May, you have till November 15th to file your tax return. And then the IRS shuts their computers down for reprogramming. Usually it's either the week before or the week after Thanksgiving. It depends. Usually we cannot e-file anymore by the end of, we always tell people it's before Thanksgiving, because the whole Thanksgiving, it seems like everybody's just goes into holiday mode after that. You cannot e-file. You cannot electronically file. You can still paper file a return if there's a reason why you would want to do that. But paper filing is really getting so antiquated now, and it's causing more problems than it's worth. We're trying to e-file everything we can, because then it's system to system, it goes in right, and there are no mistakes. We're seeing more and more mistakes with paper file. You know, back in the day, it was the only way you did it. That was it, paper file. And the IRS would have, you remember, okay, this is a grandpa moment here. Grandpa Tom, you remember that April 15th, the post office would stay open late till midnight?
Yeah.
And there would be a line of people. I mean, I remember it here in Rutherfordton.
They stayed open till midnight.
Till midnight.
So people could file.
So people could file their tax returns.
Yeah.
And there would be a line of people out the door with their tax returns, all stuffing them in an envelope with a check, because usually those are the people that wait till April, the people that owe, with a check, getting it in the mail April 15th. Those days are over. The IRS is hoping for zero paperless. That was one of the topics. And there's always going to be some form of paper filing, because there are some very specific forms, but they're going to get that down to a real minimum, and that's going to be going to like a specific address. Like if you have to file, you have to paper file an F-bar, a 104, or a form like that that's very specific. You're going to have a very specific place to send it, and it's not going to be this general thing. They really want to get away from it. So it is a law. Now, it is law. It is codified in law that if you are a practitioner and you file more than 2 tax returns in a year, you're a practitioner and you file more than 2 tax returns in a year, you have to e-file. So if you don't have the capability to e-file, you have to connect with somebody that does, who can e-file for you. I am an ERO. I am an electronic return originator. I can e-file for other people. I don't, because we have such a high volume of our own that I don't need to take on somebody else's problems. But there are people that do that. So you have to either do it yourself or connect with somebody that does. And it's not just, e-filing is not just getting on some website and sending it. It's way more complicated than that. To be an ERO is very complicated. I mean, I had to be fingerprinted. There was a background check involved. You have to maintain that status, and there's a lot of prerequisites to it. So a lot of moving parts to being an ERO. But so I am an ERO, and I do electronically file every return that we can, unless for some reason we can't. But let me finish saying this about the not-for-profits. Not-for-profit returns that are due November 15th. If you are out there and you're a not-for-profit and you have 501c3 or any kind of 50 something status, you're a 504, you're a 501c2 or whatever, you're a 501 something, because 501c3 is the most common, but there are many others. If you're any one of these statuses and you do not file a tax return for 3 years, you will lose your status. And the IRS is really cracking down on it. We talked about that at the forum. That's one of the things I said in a 2-hour workshop with not-for-profit. And the big thing they wanted us to stress to people was they're really cracking down on it. The 3-year thing, before they would send you a letter warning you, they may not even be doing that now. If you miss your 3 years, you're going to get a penalty for $8,000 for every year you didn't file, and then they're going to shut you down, and that means you're going to have to reapply, filling out a whole new 1026. Remember that form you had to fill out that you stayed up late at night filling out? It's a tough one. It's a tough form, and it takes a long time to fill it out, and you send that back in with the $600, and you may not get your status because you got to explain why didn't you file tax returns for 3 years. So that's an important one. You don't want to miss that one. That deadline is November 15th. Okay, so you people don't lose that status. And I've told people that are, it's been a tough 3 years. A lot of people almost closed during COVID, and I tell them, look, even if you file a 0 return that you had no activity, don't let it lapse. Keep it active until you definitely know you're going to shut it down. Because people say, well, we haven't done anything. It's been, fundraising's been difficult. We don't have staff like we used to. With COVID, the thing just kind of shut down, went away. So I tell people, don't let it go. File a 0 return. You can actually file a tax return called a 990N, which is just simply a postcard, literally a postcard, that says we had less than $50,000 of operating revenue come in, and we still are in business, and we're attesting to that. And then you file that, and that is enough. So even if you just file a basic 990N and keep your thing open, you won't lose your status until you know you're going to dissolve it, you're going to get rid of it, and then that's a whole other story we can have, a whole other conversation we can have. So let me recap. Deadlines, next Friday, the 15th, and there's no extension. Oh, because the guy that called me yesterday, by the way, Tom, he said, can you file another extension? I said, no, buddy, that's it. You get one. You get one mulligan. That's it. There's no other extension. So what happens if you're doing that tax return, Tom, or what happens if you're the person, and for whatever reason, because this guy had some really legitimate reasons why he hasn't been able to pull his tax return together. Very legitimate reasons. Been sick, had an injury, work-related, just the business, lost a big contract, whatever the story is. He says, I said, well, can you get close? What's missing? I'm missing this, and this. And I don't think I can get it in a week. I said, well, report what you have and amend later. Let's get it amended. But you gotta report what you have, because the failure to file is the biggest penalty there is. I mean, this guy's not even concerned about the money. He'll pay the money. He's got the money. It's the thing. And I said, you know, what do you think your income is on the high end? Because there's a little discrepancy. He's not sure if it was this or that. I said, well, go with the higher number. And when I'm missing this expense, we'll go with the lower number. Don't go with the higher number on the expenses. Go with the lower number. Go with the higher number on the income. You're going to be safe. And this is how much you're going to owe. He says, well, I can pay that. Well, do it. And then when these other numbers that you're waiting for come in, you can amend and you can tweak it and you can get it right. But the failure to file penalty is the biggest penalty you have. Well, I don't have the money to pay it. Okay, that's fine. The failure to pay penalty is not, I mean, it's a penalty and there's interest and you're going to pay this money, but it's not as much as the failure to file. A lot of people don't file tax returns because they don't have the money to pay it. My accountant said I owed whatever, make up a number, $2,000. I don't have it. $3,000. I don't have it. I couldn't get it. I wasn't going to have it by April 15th, so I did nothing. That's the worst thing you can do, because now you've got a 50% penalty, you've got interest, and it's multiple penalties that kick in when you don't file. That's the big punishment. Okay, it is 8:41. Tom, you got another PSA loaded up in there? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get a drink of water. Let's take a break. Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
Talking to your kids about the dangers of vaping can be hard. Getting them to listen to hot gossip is easy. So here's some drama you could share with your kid. Dude, did you hear about Cassie and Jake? No, but did you hear that vaping can cause irreversible lung damage and nicotine affects brain development? Nuh-uh. You don't need to gossip if you want to have an open conversation about vaping. So if you want to get tips on when and how to talk to your kids, visit talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Prediabetes is serious and more common than most people realize. 1 in 3 American adults has prediabetes, and more than 80% don't know they have it. Prediabetes is a serious medical condition that puts you at high risk for type 2 diabetes. But now, North Carolina residents with prediabetes can enroll in a free or low-cost national diabetes prevention program. Get started now at joinaprogram.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
We're back. A couple of PSAs there. We're back. WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. The program is Gilbert Talks Taxes. Gilbert talks about a lot of things. Let me give you my information one more time. So I am preparing tax returns. I am doing financial planning. We do investments. Carmona Financial Consultants at 704 Oak Street, Forest City, North Carolina, 28043. I'm loading up the IRS.
Teachers shape the future. Right now, in a classroom somewhere.
226 South Trade Street, Tryon, North Carolina. The beautiful Art Deco building right off the historic downtown Tryon. And that downtown area is really booming in Tryon. They are remodeling I call it the old part, the part across the street from the post office. They built the 2 new buildings there. They remodeled the depot building, and now they built another building a little bit down from it. But that whole little strip there across the street from what used to be the BOA has been remodeled, and it is just cute. I just don't know any other way to describe it. Just cute and quaint and old-timey. It just looks the way Tryon should look. You know, of course, Trade Street there is consistently looks nice. There's always a lot going on there, but this is the Pacolet going across there. It really looks nice. There's Some new people have come in and bought the buildings and just gutted them, and they're redoing them, and it's bringing some new business in, and that's always a good thing. But I am at 226 South Trade Street, the Art Deco building. Used to be the former Gas for Less building. It's a gas station back in the 50s when that was the Asheville Highway. That's how you went to Asheville from South Carolina. Yeah, before 26. Before them newfangled highways got put up. Okay, Tom, what do we want to talk about? We got 13 minutes, 16 minutes. What time is it? Do you even have a clock on that?
16 minutes.
We got 16 minutes left. Oh, what do I talk about for 16 minutes, Tom? People, I can make an hour conversation out of the simplest question. I don't know why I do that. There's a lot of things I wanted to talk about. Let me address this. I don't know that the hurricane relief, they did extend the filing deadline for the people in North Florida. There's a specific list of counties. I do believe that went into Georgia also. I don't know if that affected South Carolina and North Carolina. I haven't had a chance to look at it, but there is at irs.gov. There is that information is there. If you have been affected, if you were affected by that hurricane, I mean, there was damage and stuff and things that happened, specifically, especially along the coast of Florida, the tidal surge and that. But if you've been affected, it's worth looking into. There is a disaster tab on there and a page on there, and you can look. And they've extended dates. They've also extended some dates for California taxpayers because of they had fires and mudslides out there, which is, welcome to California. That's like normal out there. Fires and mudslides, and then Florida had the hurricanes. So pretty much the same thing. There, as far as new tax law that's coming down the pipeline, I'm going to be talking about those as we learn more. This time of the year, Congress starts going back in, and they start talking about things they want to change. We do know we are expecting the 2024 standard mileage rates to go up. Right now, they're 65.5 cents a mile, which is huge. It's a lot of money that they're giving you per mile for business use of your vehicle. And that's an inclusive number. So when they say 65.5 cents a mile, that is for business related, for business miles that you drive, business related. That is wear and tear of your vehicle, insurance, gasoline. So wear and tear, we're talking about depreciation, gasoline, the cost. It does not apply to rented vehicles or leased vehicles. So, and I would not use that for heavy service specific vehicles like tow trucks or ambulances, things like that. Heavy vehicles, because usually your per mile usage is way higher on those. And that typically that number really covers a lot of things. It actually went up 3 cents, and we're expecting it to go up more. I mean, inflation's going to be the big thing. There's going to be a lot of inflation adjusters that we know of for next year. Of course, the IRS is still warning everybody about scams. They're really big, and as we hit these filing deadlines, scams are going to be more and more scams. Okay, the last thing that I want to talk about, and I'm probably going to need all 12 minutes I've got left, is, wait for it, Tom, ERC, Employee Retention Credit. You can't turn on a TV without seeing a commercial for it. People that don't even have businesses are getting emails about this. You're going to get $26,000 per employee. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. Let us do the paperwork for you. You're going to get all this money back. Did you were you able to keep your business open during the pandemic? Did you have business interruption? We can get you this money. We can get you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, it's everywhere. Okay, beware. The IRS is issuing major warnings about this. So at the forum, they said we are going to be auditing as many ERC claims as we can. The bigger the claim, the bigger the audit. I know businesses, not through us, but I know businesses that have gotten back. I had a man come to me and he said, I just got a check for $780,000. He said, I didn't even know I paid that much in. So I said, you need to stop and look at this before you cash that check. Yeah. And he paid somebody, he paid somebody, they gave him a bill for $115,000 to do it. Folks, it is literally a form you fill out. There is nothing those people did that was worth $115,000. They're charging anywhere from 8 to 15% or more to fill out this form for you. And then when you get your check, they want their money right then and there. What happens when you get audited? Where are they going to be there to help you with the audit? No. Well, they're already closing their doors. So the IRS issued this: aggressive marketing continues. The IRS reminded businesses and tax-exempt groups to watch out for tall tale signs of misleading claims about the Employee Retention Credit, sometimes called the Employee Retention Tax Credit, ERTC. So it's going by both names, ERC, ERTC. The IRS and tax professionals continue to see aggressive broadcast advertising, direct mail solicitations, and online promotions involving the ERC. While the credit is real, aggressive promoters are misrepresenting and exaggerating who can claim the credit. And I sat through a 3-hour seminar that I actually paid for to learn all about it. Legitimate businesses that qualify for this credit are very, very few. Literally very, very few. You had to have had a serious slowdown of business prior to the pandemic years prior to before. You had to have been closed, so on and so forth and so on and so forth. There's a lot of criteria. And then what employees can you claim? Family members, direct lineage to the owners that are on payroll are excluded. The owner is excluded. And if you got PPP that was forgiven, that is excluded. Okay, they're ignoring all of this. I know because people are bringing me their paperwork and showing it to me and telling me what somebody told them. And I'm like, well, no, that's wrong, and that's wrong. Because, it's the old, if it's too good to be true, right? This is too good to be true, right? Why do they go with it? What part of them? It's like when people get those phone calls, the scam phone call. Right. The guy with the heavy Asian accent is telling you that we're holding your refund at the IRS because your tax preparer didn't put the correct bank information. Can we please have your bank information? What kicks in their brain that they go, like the one guy that called me and said, I just talked to the IRS because you made a mistake on my tax return. And I'm like, you did what? You did what? He goes, yeah, that's why I hadn't gotten my refund. I said, well, you hadn't gotten your refund because we just filed your tax return a week ago. That's why you haven't gotten your refund. And what did they tell you? They said that you put the wrong bank information in there. No, I didn't. It's the bank information you gave me. And you might want to call your bank. You might want to look at your bank account real quick and see why there's no money left in it. But something kicks in because they hear that, and you try telling them. But so the IRS has several things on their website I recommend you go and look at. But this aggressive calling, I'm getting phone calls. I have gotten 3 phone calls this week about people that want to do my ERC. And then I got a phone call from a company that is soliciting accountants. And they're saying, hey, we know you're busy. We know you got a lot going on. Let let us do ERC for all your people. And I said, I don't know that what you're doing is legal. I mean, I don't know that you can do that because I'm violating all kinds of fiduciary giving you that information. Oh, yeah, oh, no, it's legal. It's okay. It's good. Me and Vinny here, we got it all figured out. I'm like, no, please tell me your partner's name is not Vinny. I mean, really, please. I thought it was a joke at first. No, he was serious. And he wanted me to just give him my clients, and he was going to do ERC for all of them. I said, well, what about, he said, oh, everybody was impacted by COVID. No, essential businesses didn't close. There were businesses that did better during COVID. There were businesses that were swamped. It was the busiest year they ever had. Oh, yeah, but it could have been busier. COVID held them back, and that's one of the things. And then, after you get this ERC, okay, we have to go back and amend your tax returns because that's now income. Right. Okay, so we have to actually it's income, but what we're doing on the amendment is we're reducing the expense you took. Because what it is you're getting back the federal portion of FICA. You're getting back that credit. They're giving you back that employee credit for keeping your employees. Okay, so it's they're giving you back the it's 15.62, but it's the part of it minus the Medicare that you have. Okay, so you get that credit back. Well, now I have to go back and amend your tax return, so you're going to owe taxes. Because whether you got a refund or not doesn't matter, you're going to owe that money back. And they're not telling you that part. Because I said to him, okay, what about, so in an audit, are you going to be around to deal with it? He says, well, no, you take care of that. They're your clients. Okay, fine. Okay. And then what about amending the tax return? Do you handle that also? No, we don't do that. So basically, you're filling out a form that anybody can fill out. Yeah. Anybody can fill it out. You're charging 15% to do it, and then you're not sticking around for any of the fallout with the IRS. Pretty much, that's at that point, I think, is where he hung up. Right. Yeah, at that point, the conversation ended. But you're getting unsolicited calls. So, number one, if you get any phone call telling you, and they say, oh, it's an easy application process, and then a statement that the promoter can determine if you're eligible within minutes, or they'll tell you, we've already looked at it, and you are eligible. Well, how did you already look at it? It's the Form 941 is how this is being done. You're amending a 941. How did you get a hold of my 941? And they'll say, oh, it's public information. No, it's not. It's public. Okay, if you're a not-for-profit, what is public is your tax return is public because you're a not-for-profit, so they can get on the IRS website, but not the payroll information. And that's very private information. As a matter of fact, that's considered confidential information. They want upfront fees. Now, most of the ones I've run into are not asking for upfront fees. They're willing to wait and take a contingent fee on whatever refund you get. And they're trying to do it like they're your friend. Yeah, I'm your friend. Yeah, I'll wait for you because I know you're going to get this money, so we're in this together. No, they're not. And these companies did not exist. I've looked up 3 of them. They did not exist prior to 2021. I looked up the LLC. It was literally just incorporated like a year ago. So, yeah, as soon as this thing's done, and it was incorporated through like LegalZoom. So there's no names, there's no people, there's nobody. You don't have any idea who you're talking to. You know, the guy with the $780,000, he doesn't even know who these people are. And I just signed the paperwork. I said, you just signed the paperwork. You just signed the paperwork. Well, it was a family member that told them, you need to go talk to somebody, and you need to go talk to Gilbert. And the guy made an appointment and came and talked to me, and I told him, I said, not the biggest IRS check I've ever seen, but one of the biggest. Yeah. And it's literally just a check, 780, whatever, thousand. I'm like, I don't know that I would be cashing that if I was you, because I went through it, and they didn't follow at least 5 of the rules. So the IRS, again, they're wildly aggressive suggestions from marketers urging businesses to submit this claim. And by the way, the deadline is not December 31st of 2023. That is not truth. The deadline for 2020, for filing the 2020, is April of 2024, and the deadline for filing 21 is April 15th, I'm sorry, it's not April 15th, it's April 30th of 2025. So the deadlines are a year away. It's not like, or the deadlines are, April, 6 months, and then a year. So it's not, they're telling people, you got to get on this right now because it's over. I had a man call me, I need to do the CRC. Somebody just called me and told me that I have till like November to do it. I'm like, no. And the interesting thing is, this person was on my list. I only have a handful of clients that I legitimately think are candidates for this. I've only done three. That's all I've done. And I've got several other that I think are legitimate candidates. We're having meetings. We're talking about it. We're looking at the numbers. I've actually got one more that he was shut down, and he kept people on payroll because they were family. Said he didn't want, to him, their family, his employees. So legitimate, very few. Okay, that's it. We're out of time, Tom. How did that happen? This is Gilbert Talks Taxes. I will be back next week. Remember, Friday's the deadline. Give me a call, 828-289-9300. I will be back. Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9.